He told me stories that painted him as a hero, a man who had conquered the world just to find me. I believed every word, every promise, every carefully spun lie. Until one by one, the truth surfaced, and the man I thought I knew shattered before my eyes. He lied about his past, his family, his future, about everything. But when I confronted him, he whispered the only thing he swore was real: his love for me. And that was the hardest lie to face. When I first met Daniel, he was like a dream wrapped in skin. He walked into my life at a time when I wasn't looking for love, when my world was already busy with work, friends, and family dinners that felt too ordinary. He didn't just enter. He swept through like a storm I didn't want to stop. He had this way of talking, spinning stories that sounded larger than life. Adventures in faraway countries. A career built on brilliance and ambition. Friendships with important people. To me, he seemed like the kind of man who had already lived 1,000 lives before even meeting me. Family gatherings, everyone noticed him. My mother would whisper, "He has charm, but be careful with charm, darling. It can be dangerous." I laughed it off, believing she was just being protective. Maybe even a little skeptical because she didn't know him the way I did. Daniel made me feel seen in a way I'd never been before. He remembered small details. The way I liked my coffee, the songs I hummed without realizing, the way my eyes lit up when I talked about my childhood dreams. His attention felt intoxicating. Every day with him was painted in colors brighter than my ordinary life. He'd surprise me with flowers for no reason, call me at midnight just to say he missed me, and tell me stories about the sacrifices he made to be where he was. But there were cracks I refused to see. Sometimes his stories changed. Small details didn't quite line up. One evening, he told me about his years working in Italy, but the next time he mentioned Spain instead. When I asked, he laughed it off, saying I must have misheard. And I believed him. 'Cause I wanted to. Because love makes you blind to the inconsistencies you don't want to notice. Still, there were moments, brief, fleeting, when my mother's warning echoed in my head. Something about him didn't always feel solid. Like the ground beneath me was softer than I thought. And then, one night at dinner, he raised his glass and promised, "With me, you'll never have to doubt anything. Ever." The words should have comforted me. But instead, they sent a chill through me. Something was about to break. The first few months with Daniel felt like a movie I never wanted to end. Weekend getaways. Candlelit dinners. Long drives with music turned up so loud we had to shout our secrets to each other. He knew how to make ordinary moments feel extraordinary. A walk in the park became an adventure. Grocery shopping became a comedy. Even silence with him felt safe. Or at least I thought it did. One evening, we visited my sister's house for dinner. Everyone laughed at his stories, the way he could hold a room with nothing but his voice. But later, when I was helping clear the dishes, my sister leaned close and whispered, "He's charming, but don't you think his stories sound a little too good to be true?" I smiled, brushed her off, and told myself she was jealous. But that night, lying in bed beside him, her words kept circling in my head. Too good to be true. Sometimes when he was on the phone, his tone would shift. Softer, sharper, like he was someone else entirely. When I asked, he always had an answer ready. Business deal. An old friend. Call he had to take. And I let the answers soothe me. Because I didn't want to imagine another reality. I told myself love was about trust. That every couple had little mysteries. Little pieces of their past they held back. And yet, the unease grew louder. I'd catch him staring out the window late at night. His mind clearly somewhere else. His smile would falter when he thought no one was watching. Still, when he turned back to me, when he touched my hand and whispered, "You're my everything," I melted. Every doubt drowned beneath the weight of those words. Because to me, he wasn't just a man. He was the person I was starting to believe I couldn't live without. But love built on half-truths has a way of cracking wide open. And I could feel something was coming. The deeper I fell for Daniel, the more I noticed the little things that didn't add up. His wallet was always full of cash, but he never used the same credit card twice. He spoke about jobs he'd had, big titles, glamorous stories, but every time I asked for details, the company names blurred, changed, or disappeared altogether. Once, when we were out with friends, he told a story about living in Paris. The next week, the same story had shifted. Now it was New York. I laughed it off in front of everyone. But inside, something twisted. He was a master of words, weaving them into a web so tight, you almost forgot to question if they were true. Almost. One night, while he was in the shower, his phone lit up on the nightstand. A name I didn't recognize. My heart hammered in my chest. The message read, "You can't keep this up forever." I stared at it until my vision blurred. When he came out, towel draped around his shoulders, I shoved the phone at him. "Who is this?" I demanded. His eyes flashed, just for a second, then softened with that same practiced charm. "An old friend," he said smoothly. "Someone who doesn't understand that I've moved on. You don't need to worry." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to drown my doubts in the warmth of his touch, in the way he pulled me close, pressing his forehead against mine like he was afraid to lose me. And so I let it go. I convinced myself love was about forgiveness, about giving someone the benefit of the doubt. But deep down, a seed of fear had taken root. Because lies don't vanish when ignored. They grow. And though I didn't know it yet, his lies weren't just about his past. They were about me. About us. About everything I thought we were building together. At first, I told myself love was supposed to feel uncertain. That maybe the doubt in my chest was just fear of being happy. Fear that someone like Daniel could truly want someone like me. But then, the excuses began. He'd cancel dinners at the last minute, claiming late meetings that never seemed to show up on his calendar. His phone was always face down, notifications silenced. When I asked simple questions, he would smile, kiss me, and change the subject. It was like trying to hold water in my hands. No matter how tightly I gripped, the truth slipped away. One night, at a family gathering, my mother watched him with sharp, unforgiving eyes. Later, when we were alone in the kitchen, she whispered, "That man hides behind charm. He's not what he seems." I bristled, angry, defensive. Because love makes you blind. And it also makes you stubborn. I told myself she was wrong, that she just didn't understand the connection we had. But her words, they stayed with me. And the next time Daniel left my apartment in the middle of the night, claiming an emergency call, her warning rang louder than ever. I followed him once, slipped into my car and trailed his taillights through the empty streets. He drove across town to a house I didn't recognize. The lights inside were dim, but I saw his silhouette at the door, saw the way he embraced someone I couldn't see. My heart pounded so violently I thought it would crack my ribs. I wanted to storm up, demand answers, demand the truth. But fear held me back. Fear that if I asked, I already knew the answer. So I drove home, hands trembling on the wheel, my stomach in knots. And when he returned hours later, crawling into bed beside me like nothing had happened, I lay awake in silence. For the first time, I realized I didn't recognize the man breathing beside me. And yet, I couldn't let him go. Because when he looked at me with those pleading eyes, when he whispered my name like it was sacred, I believed, if only for a moment, that the love between us was real. But love built on lies never stays standing for long. Something was cracking, and soon, it would shatter. The weeks that followed were torture. Every laugh, every kiss, every whispered "I love you" felt both intoxicating and poisoned. I wanted to believe him. God, I needed to believe him. Because the alternative, that everything was a lie, would mean my entire world was built on quicksand. But the cracks kept spreading. One evening we were out with friends. Everyone was laughing, glasses clinking, music humming softly in the background. And then his phone buzzed. I watched his smile falter. His hand twitched. And before I could even blink, he excused himself, stepping outside into the night air. Followed, quietly, carefully, Through the window I saw him, voice low, urgent. His back tense, his words clipped. And then he said it. Not my name. Hers. The blood drained from my face. My throat burned. The world tilted. When he came back inside, his mask was back on. That same effortless grin. That same charm that had once made me feel chosen. But now, it felt like a dagger twisting deeper with every smile he flashed. That night I didn't sleep. I just lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of every unanswered question pressing down on me. By morning, I knew the truth was no longer something I could run from. It was standing right in front of me, waiting to be uncovered. Because lies can only stretch so far before they snap. And when they do, they take everything down with them. Something was about to break. And I wasn't sure if it would be him or me. The morning after that haunting night, I decided I couldn't keep ignoring it anymore. The doubt wasn't just whispering in the back of my mind anymore. It was screaming. I needed answers. He was in the shower, humming a tune like nothing was wrong. That's when I noticed his phone lying on the nightstand, screen still glowing from a recent notification. My chest tightened. My hands shook. I knew this was wrong. That going through his phone crossed a line. But hadn't he already crossed one first? Picked it up. Slid my thumb across the screen. No password. Almost like he wanted me to see. And then, I did. Messages. Dozens of them. Not from work. Not from some colleague he was helping. But from her. The words carved into me like knives. Last night was perfect. When can I see you again? Don't let her find out. Or me. My heart pounded so hard it felt like my ribs would crack. I scrolled further, bile rising in my throat. Pictures. Videos. Months worth of lies tangled together, forming a noose around my trust. And then the worst part. I found one message that made my knees buckle. I love you more than I ever loved her. Or me. The room spun. My chest burned. Tears blurred my vision until the words became nothing but streaks of betrayal on a glowing screen. When he stepped out of the shower, towel draped around his shoulders, his smile faltered. He saw the phone in my hand. He saw the tears on my face. For a moment, his mask slipped completely. His eyes widened. His lips parted. And then he laughed. Not nervously. Not guiltily. But coldly. You weren't supposed to see that, he said, voice low, almost amused. But I guess it was only a matter of time. My throat closed. How could you, after everything? He shrugged. Because I could. Because you wanted to believe I was everything you needed. And I gave you that. Don't act surprised now that you've realized I gave it to someone else too. His words shattered me. Every memory, every promise, every night we spent tangled in each other's arms, crumbled into ash. But even through the pain, a seed planted itself. Revenge. If he thought he could strip me down to nothing and walk away untouched, he was wrong. Dead wrong. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just nodded and walked away. Because deep down I knew one thing. He may have lied about everything, but I would make sure the one thing he didn't lie about, his love for me, would become the very thing that destroyed him. I didn't sleep that night. The house was silent, but my mind was screaming. Every corner of our home felt like a crime scene. The couch where he had kissed me goodnight. The kitchen where he cooked for me, telling me I was the only one. The bed where I had once believed love was real. Now it all felt like props. In a play I hadn't realized I was starring in. I sat at the dining table, my hands curled around a mug of untouched tea, staring at nothing. And then, like clockwork, his footsteps creaked down the stairs. He walked in as if nothing had happened. Like the night before hadn't torn everything apart. Morning, he muttered, pouring himself coffee. His tone wasn't apologetic, wasn't even defensive. It was casual, dismissive. That hurt worse than anything. You don't even care, do you? My voice cracked as I spoke. He didn't look at me. Didn't flinch. Instead, he sipped his coffee. Finally, he set the mug down and looked me dead in the eye. "You knew the risk when you fell in love with me. I never promised you forever. You just assumed it." The way he said it, calm, almost bored, twisted my pain into something else, something darker. I left the room before I could break. But the moment I shut the bedroom door behind me, my reflection caught me in the mirror. And I didn't recognize her. Her eyes were swollen, rimmed red from crying. Her lips trembled. But there was something else, something dangerous simmering beneath the grief. I whispered to myself like a vow. "You took everything from me. Now I'll take everything from you." That was the moment the denial broke. And the planning began. The first step was simple: gather everything. I spent hours combing through his phone, his emails, his files. Every lie, every receipt, every name. I didn't just find proof of the affair. Found more. Hidden accounts, transfers, deals he swore he never made. He hadn't just lied to me. He had lied to everyone. And if the truth came out, he wouldn't just lose me. He'd lose everything. The more I uncovered, the more my fear shifted into something else. Thrill. It terrified me. How alive I felt piecing his downfall together. Like every stolen kiss, every whispered lie, every fake smile he ever gave me, was fuel for what I was about to do. But it wasn't simple. Because the deeper I went, the greater the danger became. I wasn't just playing with heartbreak anymore. I was playing with fire. What if he caught me? What if someone else found out what I was doing? What if my revenge left me exposed instead of him? That thought haunted me, but so did his words. "You weren't supposed to see that. You just assumed forever." Well, he owed me forever. And if he thought he could lie his way into another life, another love, he'd learn the cost of underestimating me. So I made my first move. Almost invisible. A single file copied. A message sent to someone who shouldn't have known. And as soon as I hit send, felt it. The ripple. The beginning of his unraveling. The first ripple was small. But I saw it. A change in his eyes. Paused too long on his phone screen. A clenched jaw when he thought I wasn't watching. He didn't say anything. But I knew. The seed of panic had been planted. That night, he stayed up late in his office, door locked. I pressed my ear against the wood, straining to catch fragments of muffled words. "Not possible. Who else knows? Keep it quiet." My lips curved into a smile I couldn't stop. The first crack was showing. The second move came easier. I had already copied everything. The bank transfers, the falsified deals, the names of people who trusted him. Now it was about placing the right pieces in the right hands. One went to a woman I had once suspected but never confronted. One went to a man in his company he despised. And another, well, that one I kept. Insurance. The thrill was intoxicating. Each time I hit send, it was like breathing again after months of drowning. But with every risk I took, the danger pressed closer. One evening, as I sat at the desk pretending to work, I felt him behind me. His shadow swallowed the light. "What are you doing?" he asked. His voice was calm, but the calmness was worse than fury. I turned slowly, my heart racing, but my face carefully blank. "Emails. Work." He studied me for a long time, his eyes flicking between my laptop and my face. And then he leaned in closer, so close I could feel his breath on my cheek. "Don't play games with me." My hands clenched under the desk, nails biting into my skin. But I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. "Maybe I've already won," I whispered back. His jaw tightened. He left without a word. But the look in his eyes told me everything. He knew. And now it was a race. Days turned into a blur of tension. I slept with my phone under my pillow. I backed up files in secret drives, hidden places. Every sound made me jump. But while fear gnawed at me, so did something else, exhilaration. I wasn't powerless anymore. I wasn't the woman staring into a mirror, broken and weak. I was dangerous now, and it showed. Friends noticed the change in me. "You look different," one said cautiously. "Like there's something you're not saying." They were right. There was everything I wasn't saying. The first real consequence arrived in the form of silence. One morning, he didn't leave for work at his usual time. Instead, he sat at the table, phone clutched in his hand, staring at nothing. I watched him, pretending to sip my tea. His knuckles were white, his breathing sharp, shallow. "Something wrong?" I asked softly. He looked at me, and for the first time in weeks I saw it. Fear. That was when I knew my plan was working. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. Because the deeper I dug, the more I realized. This wasn't just about the affair. This wasn't just about his lies to me. He had built an empire on deception. And if I tore it down, I wouldn't just destroy him, I would erase him. But that was the danger too. If anyone traced this back to me, I'd be finished. No friends, no safety, maybe even no freedom. At night, I'd lie awake, torn between terror and obsession. What if I went too far? What if the fire I lit consumed me too? But every time doubt tried to creep in, I'd remember his words. "You just assumed forever." And with each memory, my resolve sharpened. I wasn't assuming anymore. I was taking control. And I wasn't stopping. Not until his lies burned to ash. The second wave hit harder. This time there was no hiding it. Whispers spread. Phone calls cut short. Meetings cancelled without explanation. I watched as his empire, built on carefully balanced lies, began to shake under its own weight. And I had lit the fuse. He slammed the door one night, his tie loose, his face pale. "They're asking questions," he muttered, pacing. "Someone's been feeding them things. Files. Records." I kept my eyes on the book in my hands, even though I hadn't read a single word. "Maybe you should just tell the truth," I said softly. He froze. His eyes snapped to me, sharp and suspicious. "What did you say?" I looked up at him, feigning innocence. Sometimes lies catch up to people, that's all. His stare lingered, heavy, burning into me. But then he turned away, muttering to himself, fists clenching. That was the moment I knew. He was starting to suspect me. And suspicion was dangerous. Became meticulous. Every move I made was careful, precise. I erased histories, swapped devices, hid drives where no one would find them. But no matter how cautious I was, the thrill kept pulling me deeper. I wasn't just exposing him anymore. I was watching him drown. And I liked it. One afternoon, I saw him in his car outside the office, head in his hands. The man who once stood untouchable, arrogant and proud, looked small, crushed. Should have been enough. It should have satisfied the ache in my chest. But it didn't. It only sharpened the hunger. Because I wanted more than his downfall. I wanted him to feel the betrayal I had felt. The gutting, bone-deep pain of trusting someone, and realizing it was all a lie. So I made it personal. I sent the last piece of information to the one person I knew he feared disappointing the most. His mother. A woman who adored him. A woman who believed he was flawless. I packaged the truth neatly. The stolen money, the fake deals, the women. Every lie he had ever told her, laid bare in black and white. And then I waited. The explosion came 2 days later. He came home late, shoulders slumped, eyes bloodshot. "She knows," he whispered, voice hoarse. "She knows everything." I tilted my head. "Who?" "My mother." His voice cracked. "She said she doesn't even know who I am anymore." For a moment, his mask slipped completely. And I saw him break. The man who lied about everything. Crumbling piece by piece. And I realized I had done that. But the victory was not without cost. That night, I woke to the sound of movement. His silhouette hovered near my desk, my bag. Rummaging. I stayed still, heart pounding in my throat. If he found anything, it was over. The silence stretched. Then finally he left the room, footsteps heavy on the stairs. I exhaled slowly, gripping the sheets with trembling hands. It was close. Too close. The danger was real now. If he cornered me, if he proved what I had done, it wouldn't just be his life collapsing. It would be mine. But instead of stopping, I doubled down. Because there was no turning back. I wasn't just tangled in his lies anymore. I was weaving my own. And soon one of us would break. The night it all ended was quiet. Too quiet. Even the air in the house felt heavy, thick with unspoken truths pressing against the walls. I knew he was watching me. The way his gaze lingered too long. The way his questions had sharpened, cutting closer to the truth. And I knew I couldn't wait any longer. If I didn't finish it tonight, he would. He found me in the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of water. But the way he walked in, deliberate, controlled, almost predatory, told me this wasn't just another restless night. "You've been busy," he said. His tone was calm, but his jaw was tight. His knuckles white against the countertop. Kept my face neutral. "What do you mean?" He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Don't play with me. The missing files. The leaks. My mother. That wasn't coincidence." I sipped the water, forcing my hand not to shake. "And what if it wasn't?" That stopped him. His eyes narrowed, flickering with something between rage and disbelief. "You," he whispered. "You did this." The silence stretched, and for the first time in months, I let my mask slip. "Yes," I said. One word sharp as glass. He stumbled back a step, as though the air had been knocked out of him. "Why?" His voice cracked. "After everything I gave you. Everything I did for you." I laughed, bitter and cold. "You mean everything you lied about? You think love makes the lies disappear? You think I didn't notice every time you looked me in the eye and fed me poison dressed as truth?" His expression shifted, from anger to pain, back to anger again. "I lied to protect you." Scoff. "No, you lied to protect yourself. And now, the world finally sees you for what you are." He slammed his fist against the counter, the sound reverberating through the room. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Yes," I said, my voice steady. I took back control. For a moment, he just stared at me, breathing hard, chest rising and falling like waves crashing against rocks. Then he whispered, almost pleading, "But I loved you." Froze. Because the way he said it, raw, broken, desperate, almost made me believe him. Almost. But love without truth is nothing but a cage. And I was done being trapped. "I was your secret," I said softly. "But you were my mistake." His face crumpled. And in that moment I saw him realize. He had lost everything. Not just his reputation. Not just his empire. Me. But the confrontation was far from over. He stepped closer, his eyes burning. "You think they'll believe you're innocent? You were by my side through all of it. You think you can burn me without burning yourself?" My chest tightened. Because he wasn't wrong. If I went down with him, no one would ever see me as the victim. Only his partner in crime. I swallowed, steadying my voice. "They'll believe me. Because unlike you, I don't need lies to survive." His hand slammed against the wall beside my head, caging me in. The force made the picture frames rattle. "Say that again." His voice was low, venomous. I stared back at him, unflinching. "You lied about everything," I whispered. "Except loving me. And that was your biggest mistake." Because love had made him weak, blind, and I had used it against him. He stepped back, trembling, his face pale. "You destroyed me." I tilted my head, meeting his gaze with ice in mine. "No, you destroyed yourself. I just made sure everyone saw it." That was the moment he broke. Not with a scream, not with violence, but with silence. He sank into the chair, burying his face in his hands. For the first time, he didn't look like a liar or a manipulator or even a man. He looked empty. And I knew my revenge was complete. But if I thought the story ended there, I was wrong. Because as he lifted his head, his eyes met mine. And they weren't broken anymore. They were dangerous. And I realized the game wasn't finished. Not yet. The silence between us was suffocating. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at me with those dark, unyielding eyes. Then he spoke, softly, but with venom curling in every word. "You think you've won." I didn't answer. "Do you really believe you can walk away from this clean? That you can expose me, destroy me, and just live happily ever after?" His smile was cruel, twisted at the edges. "No. If I go down, I'll drag you with me." I forced myself to stay calm. "You don't have proof. You never kept records because you didn't trust anyone. That's your downfall." But as the words left my mouth, doubt slithered into my chest. Because what if he had kept something? Something with my name, my fingerprints, my voice? The thought chilled me. He leaned closer, his breath brushing against my ear. "You think I don't have backups? I never trusted anyone. Not even you." My stomach dropped. For the first time I faltered. And he saw it. He chuckled darkly, standing tall again, savoring my silence. "There it is. That fear in your eyes. The truth is, you and we're bound together. No matter how hard you try to cut me out, you'll always be tangled in my web." I clenched my fists. "Then I'll burn the web to the ground." His laughter echoed through the kitchen. "You really don't get it, do you? I didn't just lie to you. I built you. Every step of your life for the last few years has been shaped by me. You can't erase me. I'm in everything." The words made my skin crawl. Because as much as I wanted to deny it, some of it was true. So many of my choices, my opportunities, my paths, had been connected to him. And now, unraveling him meant unraveling myself. I felt my voice shake, but I forced strength into it. "I'd rather lose myself than be owned by you." For a split second, I thought I saw something flicker across his face. Pain. But it was gone before I could hold on to it. "You'll regret this," he said coldly. "Not today, maybe not tomorrow. But one day, when you're standing in the ashes of the life you ruined, you'll remember me. And you'll hate yourself more than you hate me." The weight of his words pressed against my chest, but I refused to let him see it. I grabbed my coat from the chair, pulling it on with deliberate calm. "It's over," I said firmly. "Whatever you think you have, whatever games you want to play, I'm done." But as I reached the doorway, his voice stopped me cold. "It's never over," he whispered. "Not with us." I turned back, and for the first time, I didn't see anger in his expression. I saw obsession. The kind that doesn't die when love does. The kind that lingers, festers, grows dangerous. And in that moment I realized, destroying him wasn't enough. Because some lies don't end when you expose them. They live on, haunting every step you take. "Even your love felt like a lie," I said softly, almost to myself. He smirked. "Then maybe the only truth you'll ever know is me." I walked out before my legs could betray me, the echo of his words clawing at my spine. But as the door slammed shut, a single thought burned in my mind. I might have won tonight. But the war between us was far from over. The next time I saw him, it wasn't planned. Or maybe it was. Because nothing with him was ever an accident. It was raining. A downpour that blurred the world into streaks of silver and shadow. I had just left the office, clutching my umbrella when I felt it. That familiar weight. The prickling awareness of being watched. And then his voice. "Whoa, Muth, come. You look beautiful in the rain." I froze, my umbrella trembling in my grip. Turning slowly, I saw him, standing beneath the glow of a street lamp, rain dripping down his face, his smile unshaken. "You shouldn't be here," I whispered. He stepped forward, unbothered by the storm. "Why not? We belong in the same story. Don't you see that?" My heart pounded. "I don't belong to you. Not anymore. Not ever again." He laughed softly, almost sadly. "You still don't understand. All those lies I told, the money, the secrets, the fake promises. Yes, they were lies. But my love, that wasn't a lie. That was the only real thing I ever gave you. His voice cracked on the last word, and for the briefest second, I saw something raw flicker across his face. But I couldn't let myself believe it. Not now. Not after everything. You call this love? I snapped, my voice shaking. Love doesn't chain someone. It doesn't smother or lie or manipulate. Love sets you free. And you've done nothing but trap me. His expression hardened instantly. No. Protected you. I gave you everything. Without me, you're nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing. The words hit like a slap. But instead of breaking me, they ignited something inside me. I took a step closer, standing firm despite the storm. No. Without you, I'm finally something. I'm free. His jaw clenched, rainwater streaking down his face like tears. Don't walk away from me, he hissed. You'll regret it. I already regret every second I wasted on you. For a moment, the street was silent except for the pounding rain. And then his voice dropped, low and venomous. If I can't have you, no one will. The threat hung in the air like thunder, sharp and final. My chest tightened, but I forced myself to stare him down. You've lied about everything, but here's one truth you can't twist. I'd rather die fighting you than live under your shadow. He flinched, not much but enough. And in that instant I saw it. The fracture. The crack in the mask he'd worn so perfectly all these years. You think you've broken me? He spat, stepping back, fury flickering through his eyes. But this isn't the end. Not for us. I didn't move. Didn't blink. I just let the words hang there, powerless against the storm. Because I knew the truth now. It was the end. Not because I'd destroyed him, but because I'd finally chosen myself. I turned, walking into the night, leaving him behind under the street lamp, a ghost drenched in rain and rage. His final words followed me, sharp and bitter, echoing in the storm. You'll come back. You always come back. But I didn't look back. Not this time. Not ever again. The room was suffocatingly still, broken only by the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. My chest rose and fell like a storm trapped inside ribs. His eyes darted everywhere, to the door, the floor, the scattered papers, anywhere but me. Say it, I whispered, my voice low, sharp. For once in your life, say something that isn't a lie. He swallowed hard, jaw tightening. I love you. That was never a lie. I laughed bitterly, the sound echoing like broken glass. You love me. You, who built castles out of deceit and let me live in them blindfolded. You call that love? His hands trembled, fingers tightening into fists. Everything else, yes, I twisted. I was scared. I didn't want you to see who I really was. But my love was poison, I cut him off. You wrapped it around me like a chain, and I thought it was protection. You used it to keep me blind, to silence my doubts, to excuse every half-truth. He flinched as though I had struck him. I never wanted to hurt you. Yet you did. Every day you opened your mouth, every story you spun. You made me love someone who doesn't even exist. And that's the cruelest betrayal of all. For the first time he had no words. His silence was heavier than any lie he could have told. I reached for the folder on the table, the one holding every piece of truth I had dug up, every hidden past, every forged detail. I slid it toward him. His hands hovered over it, but he didn't open it. He already knew. I could expose you right now, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Your friends, your work, your carefully built reputation gone. I have enough proof to turn your world into ashes. His breath hitched. You wouldn't. I leaned forward, eyes burning into his. You don't know me as well as you think. For a moment, fear flashed across his face. Raw, unmasked. And I realized finally I had power. Tell me one thing, I demanded. Why me? Out of everyone you could have fooled, why did you choose me? He stared at me, lips parting slowly. Because you were the only one I wanted to believe in me. The only one I couldn't stand to lose. Tears pricked my eyes. Not of longing but of mourning. mourning the love I had given freely to a ghost. I stood, my decision already carved into my chest. Then lose me. The silence that followed was absolute, a final severing. I walked away, folder in hand, leaving him drowning in the ruins of his lies. Behind me, his voice cracked, one last desperate whisper. Please don't go. But I didn't turn back. Not this time. The night I left him, I didn't cry. That surprised me. I thought my body would fold under the grief, that the tears would pour endlessly, that I'd feel emptier than I'd ever known. Instead, I felt nothing. Just a sharp stillness, like the pause after a gunshot, when the world hasn't yet realized what has happened. I walked through the streets with a folder pressed to my chest. His world of lies contained in those pages. But with each step, the weight of it shifted. Not just the evidence I carried, but the burden of having loved someone who had never truly existed. For days, I kept waiting for the crash, collapse, the moment I'd fall apart. I thought it would come in the morning light, when I'd roll over and realize his side of the bed was cold. Or maybe in the kitchen, when I'd reach for 2 cups instead of 1. Or in the evenings, when silence pressed against me where laughter used to be. But the breakdown didn't come. Instead, something else did, a gnawing question. What was left of me once the lies were gone? I had defined so much of myself by the story he told me. His partner. His safe place. The one who knew him best. And now I was just the girl who believed too much, loved too blindly, forgave too easily. Some people think revenge feels like fireworks. Loud, brilliant, a burst of satisfaction lighting up the sky. But mine wasn't like that. Mine was quieter. It was the sound of a door closing for the last time. It was the way his voice cracked when I said the words that would cut him deeper than any evidence ever could. Then lose me. And yet, even as I replayed it, there was no victory in it. No triumphant music swelling in the background. Just silence. I went back to the house I once called home, though it felt more like a stranger's now. His jacket still hung on the chair. His cologne lingered in the air. The toothbrush sat beside mine, mocking me with its ordinariness. It's strange. The big betrayals wound you, yes, but sometimes it's the smallest remnants of normalcy that twist the knife deepest. I couldn't bring myself to throw his things away. Not yet. Instead, I boxed them, each shirt and book folded with mechanical precision. Not because I cherished them, but because I wanted them out of sight, sealed away like the man I thought he was. Nights were the hardest. The quiet had teeth. My mind replayed every smile, every lie, every moment I should have noticed but didn't. I found myself whispering the same question into the dark. Was any of it real? Sometimes I almost believed his words, that his love was the one truth in the ocean of deceit. But then I remembered how easily he had woven falsehoods, how skilled he was at wearing masks. And I realized, even if he had loved me, it didn't matter. Love without honesty is nothing but a trap. Weeks passed. Slowly, the silence became less suffocating. I filled it with other things. Books I'd abandoned, music I once loved, long walks where I didn't have to be anyone but myself. I met with family I had drifted from during those years, too blinded by him to notice the distance. They didn't say, "I told you so." They didn't need to. Their arms around me were enough. Still, the scars remained. Not the kind people see, but the ones that shape the way you trust, the way you let someone close. One night, months after leaving him, I dreamed of him. Not the liar I knew at the end, but the man I believed in once. Laughing, alive, eyes full of a warmth that now feels impossible. I woke up with tears on my face. And for the first time since I walked away, I let myself grieve. Not for him, but for the version of me who had believed, who had loved without hesitation, who had thought forever was possible. That girl was gone. In her place was someone harder, sharper, maybe wiser, but also lonelier. And that's the truth about revenge no one tells you. Sometimes it doesn't leave you satisfied, or vindicated, or strong. Sometimes it just leaves you scarred. I never used the folder. Never exposed him to the world. I realized one night, staring at it, that I didn't need to. His punishment was not losing his career or reputation. His punishment was losing me, because I finally understood. I was the most honest part of his story. And when I walked away, he was left only with his lies. And tell me, have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely? Or maybe you felt the pull of revenge, that dangerous temptation to make them feel what they made you feel. Share your truth in the comments. You never know, your story might help someone else heal.